Just wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you today about the topic of redundancy. Um, I suffer, or I am blessed, with adverse mental health. It's something that I control, it's something that I live with, uh, and it's something that I think is part of who I am. But the topic of redundancy is something that's close to my heart, and I want to go back to the beginning of my journey of when I created agency. Now, back in 2010, I'd been in a corporate role. I'd been in that role for about 10 years. I felt safe, and I felt that I belonged, and I was part of a family. And through no fault of my own, through circumstances beyond my control, my company was bought, and that new company then, as they always do, looked to make savings and looked to make people redundant. Now, the process of redundancy is something that I don't think that companies think about necessarily in terms of the impact on individuals. Now, ultimately, it was a positive impact, and we'll touch on that in another video, that led to me creating agency, and then in 2018 selling that and realizing a life goal and a life dream, and being in a position that I never dreamed I would be in my mid-40s. But the piece that people need to consider is the emotional impact that any kind of redundancy is going to have on people. People are people. And the emotion that you go through is absolutely phenomenal. I think the biggest mistake that companies make when it comes to redundancy is a lack of information. I think not keeping people informed. I think putting at threat, if you want to do it academically, Maslow's hierarchy of need, and putting at threat that ability to provide a house and an income and provide for your family and or yourself is absolutely significant. I would encourage any organisation that goes through that to provide support services to staff and understand that you're dealing with human beings and not just numbers. And there are a couple of aspects to that. The employee themselves that's going through that redundancy and uncertainty, not knowing whether or not they are going to be made redundant or not. Do they start to look for another job? Do they still feel valued? Do they want to stay with a company at the end of the process? As normally happens, an organisation will pick people and call them employee representatives. Again, absolutely horrendous position to be in, to actually undertake the actions and undertake the mechanics of the redundancy on behalf of the organisation, not knowing whether or not you yourself have a job, and then putting your colleagues through a process that is going to impact them emotionally, is going to impact their families, and ultimately could impact their mental health. For me, as I say, I've always been blessed with adverse mental health, but I think the redundancy was a trigger for me, and it brought many years of episodes again, which I'll potentially cover on another episode. But to understand that impact, I think, is significant. I think that there's an element of survivor guilt, if you can call it that, for those people that are left behind, for those people that do stay with the organisation. And I think it can take many years for people and the organisation itself to recover from that. So I just wanted to touch on the impact of how redundancy impacted me, and knowing that there are people out there that are going through that. And I would encourage you to find somebody independent that can listen. I don't think there's anybody out there that has the answers, and nobody should be trying to solve your problems necessarily, but finding an independent person that can listen to you, that you can express your fears and your emotions to, hopefully that can understand you, I think is going to help you with your own mental state and with your own mental health. Not having anybody to talk to is again, it's so isolating and it's so lonely. You can't talk to the company. You oftentimes can't talk to your friends, you can't talk to your colleagues because you don't know whether or not they're in the same boat as you, whether they're staying, whether they're going. And obviously, you will find it very, very difficult to open up to your family who rely on you in most cases to provide that roof over their head, to provide that income, and to provide and maintain their lifestyle. So, my number one tip to you would be find somebody independent, find somebody impartial, find somebody that you can talk to, um, and speak through what it is that you're going through. Thank you for listening.